What is up, guys? It's NFL Roster Guru back for another video. And today we'll be going over more free agency transactions. So let's dive right into all those moves. First team we'll start off with is the Bears. They made a singular transaction in the last few days since my last upload, and they signed wide receiver Olomide Zaccheaus from the Washington Commanders. Moving on to the Cincinnati Bengals. They did not do anything for the last 2 days. So move right along to the Bills. So the Buffalo Bills, they made three signings. The first being signing Laviska Shenault. He was not anywhere prior to this. He was a free agent. Now he's a Bill. Moving on to the cornerback position, they added Dane Jackson, who was actually cap casualty from the Carolina Panthers. Now he's a Buffalo Bill. Moving on to right guard, they signed, not right guard, center. They signed Kendrick Green, former Houston Texan, now Buffalo Bill. Moving right along to the Denver Broncos, they did not do anything the last few days. The Cleveland Browns also didn't do anything. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they made a few moves. They signed three and cut one. Well, the player they cut was their backup punter. Well, he was a starting punter last year, and Jake Browning. Now they have Riley Dixon from the Broncos, but I already mentioned him in a prior video. They signed left tackle Charlie Heck, former San Francisco 49er. 49ers are losing like everybody in the offseason. They signed a middle linebacker and Anthony Walker Jr. from the Miami Dolphins. They also signed a cornerback and Kendall Vildor from the Detroit Lions. Moving on to the Arizona Cardinals, they signed two players. Actually, no, they signed three. One of them was a cap casualty from the Browns, and Dalvin Tomlinson. And uh, they signed Jack Curhan from the Chicago Bears, and they also signed a wide receiver from the Chargers and Seme Bako. Moving on to the Chargers, they signed five guys, including Mike Williams, who reunites with the Chargers. They also signed Naquan Jones. They also signed Deshaun Hand from the Miami Dolphins and Naquan Jones from the Cardinals. Moving on to linebacker, they signed Del'Shawn Phillips from the Texans. And they also signed Super Bowl champion Mekhi Becton from the Eagles. Moving on to the Kansas City Chiefs, they signed two players. One of them was Bailey Zappi from the Cleveland Browns, and Jerry Tillery from the Minnesota Vikings. Moving on to the Colts, who signed two as well. They signed Neville Gallimore from the Los Angeles Rams and Spencer Schrader from the Kansas City Chiefs. And they also signed Corey Ballantyne from the Green Bay Packers. Moving on to the Commanders, they signed two players, and Jacob Martin from the Chicago Bears and Nate Herbig from the Pittsburgh Steelers as center. Moving on to the Dallas Cowboys, they signed four players, including center Dakota Sheepley, running back Miles Sanders, wide receiver Paris Campbell, and Dante Fowler Jr. at right end. No, not right and left end. Moving on to the Miami Dolphins, they signed three players. First being Pharaoh Brown from the Seattle Seahawks, KJ Britt from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Alexander Madison from the Las Vegas Raiders. Moving on to the Philadelphia Eagles. Oh, they made a few moves. Dang. One, two, three, four, five, six, 7 moves by the Eagles. Let's see. First, they signed Avery Williams from the Atlanta Falcons, special teams guy. And they also signed right end Josh Uche from the Kansas City Chiefs, a tight end in Harrison Bryant, another tight end in Kalen Granson. They also signed Adoree Jackson and Patrick Johnson. Patrick Johnson right here, and Adoree Jackson right here. They also, their final signing was a cap casualty from the Browns, who was a long snapper in Charlie Huglet. Moving on to the Atlanta Falcons, they signed 2 players. First being a left end and Morgan Fox from the Los Angeles Chargers, and a cornerback from the Kansas City Chiefs, and Keith Taylor. Moving on to the San Francisco 49ers, they made 3 moves. Starting off with at long snapper, they signed John Weeks from the Texans, and they cut their current long snapper and Tybril Pepper, so Weeks will replace him. And then at quarterback, they signed Mac Jones, who, if you don't remember, in that one year, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, that was the difference. And Trey Lance, he wasn't really that good. Mac Jones, I guess, decent backup. Anyways, we're on to the Giants. They signed 2, and Tommy DeVito is their only quarterback now. It's pretty funny. Demetrius Flanning Flowers at middle linebacker, and a defensive tackle, and Jeremiah Ledbeater. Moving on to the New York Jets, because the Jaguars didn't do anything because they made all their moves the first 2 days. They signed D tackle Jay Tufeli and Byron Cowart. Tufeli is from the Bengals and Cowart is from the Bears. They also signed cornerback Chris Boyd from the Texans and wide receiver Tyler Johnson from the Los Angeles Rams. And they signed tight end Stone Smart from the Chargers. And they signed a punter from free agency in Austin McNarm. Moving on to the Detroit Lions, they cut linebacker Jalen Reeves Maben, and they signed tight end Kenny Yelwich, or Yelbo, a tight end. Moving on to the New England Patriots, because the Panthers Packers didn't do anything. Patriots made, I think, say 4 moves. Actually, no, they made 3. Yeah, 3 moves. No, 4 for the Patriots. First, they cut their current center and David Andrews. They signed right guard Wes Schwitzer, and they signed left outside linebacker Kayvon Chason from the Chason is from the Raiders, and Wes is from the Jets. At strong safety, they signed Marcus Epps, and I just recently updated the numbers on Epps. Um, this guy Tonga and Matt Collins. Moving on to the Raiders, they made 1 transaction in signing running back Raheem Mostert, former Miami Dolphin. Moving on to the next team, Rams didn't do anything. Ravens didn't do anything. The Saints, they made 5 moves. They signed tight end Jack Stoll. They also signed cornerback Isaac Yiadom from the 49ers. Stoll is from the Dolphins, actually. Thought he used to be on the Eagles. Yiadom's right here. They signed Jonah Williams, defensive tackle from the Detroit Lions. They also signed running back Bayless Jones Jr. from the Panthers. And they signed center Will Clapp from free agency right here. Moving on to the Seattle Seahawks. They signed one player and one player only. Cooper Kupp from the Los Angeles Rams goes to Seattle. Now Sam Darnold has Kupp and Smith and Jigba to throw to. Moving on to the Steelers. They made two moves. They signed Scotty Miller. They actually re-signed him. And they signed Mason Rudolph. Interesting. They bring him back. A little reunion. Moving on to the Houston Texans. Let's see what they did. They made one move, and that being they traded for right guard Ed Ingram from the Minnesota Vikings. And moving on to the Titans, they made two moves. They cut starting cornerback Chiwuzi Owazi, or whatever his name is. Pretty strange name. They signed quarterback Brandon Allen, former San Francisco 49er. And moving on to our last team, the Minnesota Vikings. They signed Jack Stoll, Jack Skull from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They also signed middle linebacker actually no, not middle linebacker, left outside linebacker Eric Wilson. And the last thing they did was just moments ago, and trading for Jordan Mason, which is a very impressive move because now you got an aging Aaron Jones and now Jordan Mason help him. All right, enough of that, guys. Looking at free agency and how it stands, we have all the free agents. I put them all under free agency. Everyone who had an expiring contract: Stephon Diggs, Nick Chubb, Kendall Fuller, Mosley, Simmons, etc. Asante Samuel, Cooper, and I put all the retired players at 12 overall, just moved them all to quarterback. And currently, as the roster stands, we have 121 rookies created, and I'm looking to get to 329 total rookies made. So I can't wait for that, guys. So let's show you how to download this roster now. So first, we wanted to go over to Download Center, go over to rosters, go over to, I like username more because it's more effective. Type in peace control ghosty. And then once you guys have done that, my roster should come up. And it's this one. Madden 25 Offseason version 1. Don't download these two. They're from my 53-man roster updates earlier in the year. This one. And that's all I had to say, guys. Peace. Can't wait for more videos.